Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, alhamdulillah, wa salatu wassalamu ala Rasulullah. We continue reading from Imam Al-Ghazali, Jawahir al-Quran, the Juz of the Quran and spares. Still reading from Surah Al-Isra, chapter 17 of the Quran, the journey at night, night journey, if you will. And we have reached verses 37 to 39. And since the verse 37 advocates one more act that we should not do, and do not walk on the earth arrogantly. وَلَا تَمْشِ فِي الْأَرْضِ مَرَحًا. Surely you can neither crack the earth nor stretch to the height of the mountains. The violation of any of these commandments is detestable to your Lord. Any of these commandments, let's recap and see what we have been, and we'll get back, of course, to verse 37 after we simply look at the things that we should do, things that we are prohibited. One of the first things that were mentioned here in terms of actions, of course, along with believing in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is asking us to honor our parents. وَبِالْوَالِدَيْنِ إِحْسَانًا. With details, we have covered all this, but simply we're trying to go over some of these things that we, so that verse 38 will cover, or does cover, all of these. Giving to close relatives, as well as the poor, the needy, the travelers, and a caution against being wasteful, against spendthrift. And this has been associated, the very last thing, with being brother of the devil, if you will. إن البدرين كانوا إخوان الشياطين. And also, do not kill your children for fear of poverty. For Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the sustainer. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala provides for them and for you. And does it mean that you can kill children for other reasons? For example, when China had the policy of one child per family, many families would abort the. Of course, they would check. Today, it's through ultrasound. They find the sex of the baby, and they will abort females, and that created an imbalance in the society. Femicide, pretty much like the Jahiliyyah time. Only the style and how they do it is different. Killing children during war, and it's worse. It is worse when you use a religious text. You vilify, you dehumanize human beings, not like what's going on in the Gaza Strip, and you justify killing children. A prohibition against adultery. Do not get near adultery. Don't put yourself in a situation where you'll be tempted, don't say that you are strong. Do not. ولا تقربوا الزنا. For example, there is a prohibition against being alone with the other sex. You go to this is not it's not because the physician is a bad person. You go to a checkup at the clinic. Yeah, take you take your mother. I'm talking about girls. Take your sister. Uh, but the idea it's you shouldn't be alone. This is very important. Um, there are millions of stories. Do not kill. Uh, Preservation of the soul is one of the aims of the Sharia. حفظ النفس, the classical five, but one can go beyond the classical five. ولا تقتلوا النفس التي حرم الله إلا بالحق. And one more, of course not the only one, the prohibition against abusing your authority or whatever is relationship with orphans who have wealth. ولا تقربوا مال اليتيم إلا بالتي هي أحسن حتى يبلغ أشده. Unless you are intending to enhance it, to invest, but really you invest for the sake of the child until they basically reach maturity. To increase it, yes. And also the very last here it advocates this verse, fulfilling measurements, weights and measurements, and having an even balance. وأوفوا الكيل إذا كلتم وزنوا بالقسطاس المستقيم. One can think about the whole economy should be based on fair trade, fair distribution, Islamic economy. This is very specific. It's about some people might only grasp that much, but the whole economy should be just, based on justice. And of course, there is redistribution of wealth through zakah, through inheritance, which does not exist really in a pure capitalist society where the top 1% own more, much more than the 99%. And the three richest persons in the world, they own more money than the lowest 45 countries in the world. We don't say just simply take the money and just simply give it away as charity, but you can invest and you can take, those people make sure that they don't really pay tax or much tax. So against all this, we go back to verse 37, and do not walk on the earth arrogantly. Surely you can neither crack the earth nor stretch to the height of the mountains. All of these things, كل ذلك كان سيئه عند ربك مكروها ولا تمشي في الأرض مرحا إنك لن تخرق الأرض ولن تبلغ الجبال طولا كل ذلك كان سيئه عند ربك مكروها ذلك مما أوحى إليك ربك من الحكمة ولا تجعل مع الله إلها آخر فتلقى في جهنم ملوما مدحورا. The violation of any of these commandments that we have just went over is detestable to your Lord. This is part of the wisdom which your Lord has revealed to you, addressing the Prophet Muhammad SAW. And of course, it's the universal message. And do not set up any other God with Allah. And this is to humanity, or you'll be cast into hell, blameworthy, rejected. ولا تمشي في الأرض مرحا. Arrogance. Of course, there are those who walk around arrogantly, but there are those who are arrogant while it might not manifest itself through their walk. What type of arrogance we can think about? The arrogance that prevents you from accepting the truth. The arrogance that uh, drives you, or you are convinced that you are autonomous, that you have it, that you are smart enough, that you will not accept the truth from anyone. You have the answer to everything. You dismiss because of your arrogance. Of course, is going to be associated with narcissism, an inflated ego, and it's always a false sense of worth and importance. You are small when the Quran says, "Do not walk on the earth arrogantly. Surely you can neither crack the earth." Your strength is it's it's nothing. You're not going to stretch yourself to the height of the mountains, because those who are arrogant, they will think of themselves above, being above all other people. You are very tiny compared to the mountains, compared to the universe. Our own our own sun, mind you, our own Earth, our planet, our own sun is nothing but like a speck of dust, like a grain of sand, relative to all the sand that exists on Earth. That's how small our sun is, and our sun is massive compared to the Earth, and the Earth is massive compared to the human being. You are closer to zero rather than. Don't be arrogant. If you are humble, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will raise you. If you are truly humble, inside, how could you become humble? Think of other people as being potentially in a much better position, because you don't know their relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You don't know whether they have committed sins like you have done. You don't know whether Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has forgiven them. You don't know whether this person ranks very high in the sight of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Like it has been said, I'm the worst of people. إني لشر الناس إن لم يغفر الله لي. I'm the worst of people. لشر الناس, like Of course, shar is evil, but here the context is I'm the worst. If God does not really forgive me, what am I? If I don't end up, happiness is in paradise. How could you become arrogant when you don't know and you have no say about your future? Humble yourself. رب أشعث أغبر لو أقسم على الله لأبره. It could be that a person who is unkempt, dusty, if he makes an oath asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will fulfill his oath. Unkempt and dusty compared to suits. It doesn't mean that you just go around and deliberately. No. But it's those people whom you would not want to socialize with, you don't want to be associated with. Beware, because they could be, as this hadith indicates, رب أشعث أغبر لو أقسم الله لأبر. There are other details unknown. When the Sufis speak about khumul in our popular narrative, not the original meaning, and not the Sufi use, definitely, we say خامل الذكر, not famous. When Imam Ghazali was described by one of his students in the prairies of Baghdad after his journey, after he left his position at the Nizami of Baghdad, and we don't advocate this, after he distributed his wealth, after he shunned the world and treaded on the path of the hereafter, wanting to cleanse his heart, after he went to Damascus, he went to Jerusalem, to Al-Aqsa Mosque, to the beloved Al-Aqsa Mosque, and he stayed there, and he wrote رسالة قدسية في العقائد, رسالة بيت المقدس also. I have seen it named as such. He could have written a substantial part of Ihya Ulumuddin. I don't know whether he wrote all of it or in Jerusalem, but at any rate, that's part of the what he has done. He visited Hebron. One of the things that he pledged not to do in Hebron, he pledged not to do three things. One of them is never to debate anyone, because when you debate in public, it might inflate your ego. You might be on your own side, not on the side of truth. At any rate, he performed Hajj and ultimately went back to Baghdad. So one of his students saw him in the prairies of Baghdad before. And there was nothing on him in terms of property except a staff and a container of water. That's about it. But he said, the description, لبس ثوب الخمول, this dress of khumul, it's really when you, and the best thing today is to, he went, he traveled around incognito. He did not want anyone to recognize him. This is why the Sufis, when they speak about fana, it's not that there is a theology that advocates union in a way that is prohibited in Islamic theology. But the idea of fana is that you don't notice. And this is the 100% against the any whims, any arrogance. The antithesis, you might want to say. You want to negate it 100%. Let me share this very personal story. Almost 30 years ago, our youngest daughter, not the youngest child, came to me, and she complained that her siblings were accusing her of uh, being um, selfish, egoistic, all these things, and they were children. And I told her to explain it to her. I said that people might have different sizes of ego, like the tag that we have on our shirts with that small letter: S for small, M for medium, L for large. It could be XX, extra large. I know that in general people have, they can have small, they have large ego, but in general they do. You need to keep it in check. She accepted the answer in the sense of her siblings were also must have something. We all in general have this. It is nurtured. Satan, نفس الأمارة بالسوء, we allow by not being humble, and the you don't know why people could be very arrogant and walk around arrogantly, and walking around arrogantly, brandishing your uh, designer bag. You are almost all of them cost close to nothing in Southeast Asia, in these sweatshops, and you pay hundreds, thousands, even tens of thousands of dollars for a bag. Why? It's the same thing about the the watch. It's the same thing about the car. It's the same thing. Keep things in check. It doesn't mean that this life is the where you plant the seed, you harvest whatever you plant, you sow the seed, you nurture it, but you reap things in the hereafter. Al-Bukhtari, the known worshipper, he saw a man from the family of Ali bin Abi Talib, radiallahu anhu, who was walking around, and he walked arrogantly. He addressed him. Al-Bukhtari addressed this man, and he told him, the one for whom I honor you did not walk like this. The rest of the short story says that man from the family of Ali radiallahu anhu, stopped walking like this. He took it to heart. Yes. Yeah. This is part of the commandments that have been mentioned in this part of Surah Al-Isra. This is part of the wisdom that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed to Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So things to fulfill, all of them we should fulfill, but things to do and things that we are prohibited and we should not do. With this, inshallah, we conclude this session. We still have verses from Surah Al-Isra we'll in the next session بإذن الله عز وجل we'll begin with verse 78. Until then, سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.